I don't want to say yes, but yes.
We are so stupid.
Internal imposters of just like, wait.
Feel like an imposter right now.
We are not our code. We are much more than that. Rough transition. I think we just have to cut ourselves a little bit of slack.
Ahoy, hoy! We are here at React Summit. My name is Nick Nisi, and I'm here with K-Ball. K-Ball, how's it going?
Going good. Excited to be here as we've been.
It's been a long, very fun day at React Summit, and we are joined by the one, the only Shruti Kapoor. Shruti, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic now that you're here.
I tend to have that effect on people.
For sure. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a front-end engineer at Slack. I build web applications, help them scale. I mostly work in React, so I also speak about React a lot, which is why I'm here.
Nice. I've heard of React.
Yeah, React, right? That library, some people have heard of it.
Yeah, it's a apt topic for React Summit, for sure. You gave a talk today. What was your talk about?
Yeah, my talk was about everything you need to know about React 19.
Nice.
And the reason why I did this talk is I feel like every time a new version of React comes out, a little bit of me is like, I need to update code again.
Yeah.
And then the other half is like, oh my God, new version, new shiny thing, let's do it. So I was giving this talk to kind of explain what are the new features that developers need to be aware of, especially like client-side developers, because there's a lot of client-side code that's come out with React 19. So what are some things you need to be aware of? React 19 is still in RC stage as of now. So it's nice to kind of be aware of these things now so you can think about how you're going to upgrade your code later on.
Yeah. So this is a perfect topic because I'm a React developer. I haven't paid a lot of attention to React 19 specifically. But I know that there's, just from my perspective, I guess I'm speaking from me, there's a little bit of confusion because you've got React 19, you've got React Server Components, and you've got React Compiler. Is that all React 19?
Oh, great question. So React Server Components, React Compiler, and even React Actions that's now come out with React 19, I would say is kind of all features, you can call them. Okay. So React Server Components, Compiler, which is actually a plugin, and React Actions, they're all kind of features. React 19 is the version of React that now makes React Server Components stable, introduces React Actions, and also introduces React Compiler as a plugin. But React 19 is kind of the version, and these are kind of small features in it.
Okay.
So you can kind of think of that way. React Server Components was introduced around 18-ish, so they've been around for a while, although they weren't stable at the time, but now they're stable.
Okay. And there's some confusion too, because I almost think of those more as a next feature just because of that being the only implementation right now. So the lines are blurred is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping me to make sense of that.
It's such a funny thing because today I was leading the panel with Future of React and I asked the same question. And I said, it feels like Next.js is kind of the favored framework that React is choosing. So how do you feel about Next.js being the place where all of the new features are coming? And you're right, even for new developers, it can feel that all of these are new features, which is something I felt as well when I was just starting out with React back in the day when React and Redux were this coupled thing. And so I thought every React thing is actually a Redux thing as well. And I was like, React and Redux, they just come in a package together, but instead they're actually two different libraries. So you're right, that can kind of give that impression.
So because I think RSCs have been around for a while, they're a little more familiar, but Actions is something new that I'm not sure folks have heard about. Do you want to explain kind of what that is and what it gets you as a developer?
Yeah, so Actions is kind of the way you can write async transitions as a function. Basically, to simplify it, we all know forms, and we've been handling forms for a long time. But the only way that we've known to submit a form is by having a click handler. Right, so we have a form, we'll have a button, and then we'll attach a handle submit to the form, or we'll have an on click and we'll attach a handle submit to it. That's the way we've known to submit forms. But now with React Actions, it is now letting you submit the form as an action. So now it's introducing this new DOM method called action. And so instead of now having a form submit or form on click submit, you can just have a form action. And that takes care of submitting the form when you hit the submit button, showing you pending states. So actions as a definition are just functions that use async transitions, but really their use is to help submit forms easier.
And this is all client side?
This is all client side, but actions are also supported on the server. So you can also create server actions as well. Same idea, you create an action, you just define it as a server action, but it can be used on the client side or it can be used on the server side as well.
Well, I think one of the things you mentioned there, a word that I'm going to pull out was transitions, right? Because I think submitting forms, we all know how to submit forms, but there's so many different states along the way.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've seen, at least they somehow smooth the way for showing those transitions.
Yeah. Here, when I say transition, I specifically refer to start transition hook, which was introduced in React 18. And with React 19, now you can actually have like an async function within the start transition hook as well, which is also a change of React 19. And that specific bit is what React defines as kind of actions. But the question here is transition within a form, I think is what you were referring to, is what are the different states of how a form is being submitted. So a form, you enter fields and then you send it over to the server. And while you're sending, it's in sort of an appending state, as in the form data is being submitted, the server is going to verify and it's going to send that data back. So in that state, it's kind of in the pending state.
And do you use this to handle error conditions and stuff as well? Or how
Yeah, so you can use that to handle error conditions as well. I'm trying to think if the hook actually gives you error back. I don't think it does, but it can be used to handle error conditions as well.
All right, so RSCs, actions,
Compiler,
compiler.
which is a big one. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So compiler actually is a plugin that is introduced in React 19. I think one thing that people kind of confuse with is that React 19 comes with compiler embedded within React 19, but it's actually a plugin. So you get React 19 and you can get React compiler separately. It has been introduced together in the conference, so people kind of confuse that it's part of the package, but it's not. Compiler basically is the way React can auto-compile code for you and auto-memoize code for you, which basically means that as of now, the way we kind of optimize our code is by having use memos, use callbacks, React memo. Going forward with the React 19, we don't need to do that anymore because with the help of React compiler, we'll be able to auto-memoize our code.
It's a plugin. How do you opt into that?
So you can opt into that by installing as a Babel plugin, and it gets part of like your Webpack config. And then once React compiler starts looking at your file, it's going to auto-optimize it. You don't need to do anything after that. So once you've installed it, it's good to go. You can opt out of it, but to opt in, you don't need to do anything after installing it.
Okay. And you said a Babel plugin. What if you're using something like Vite or?
I think there is an option for Vite as well. Actually, no, I take that back. With Vite, it's also working. I have a Vite project, so it works perfectly. Just a Babel plugin works perfectly with Vite as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then there's also the use hook. Is that part of React 19?
Yes, use is a really great one because I feel like it's so confusing because it sounds like a hook, acts like a hook, but is not a hook. It's actually an API. And I think the difference between, let's pause on that for a minute. So what use does is it helps you read resources. I think the way it kind of reads in code is very intuitive. So let's say that you have a context. Let's say you have like theme context. This is how you like read current theme, dark mode, light mode. What you can do is you can say const theme equals use, and then your context provider, so like theme context. And so now you're actually reading through a context provider by just using use. So you don't have to like embed your code within the context provider. So that's really neat.
Oh, cool.
So you don't have to like only have it within the components. You can actually have it like somewhere in as a hook as well. So it kind of behaves like a hook, but it's not a hook. And because it's not a hook, it doesn't follow the same rules of hook. So, yeah.
I have not dug into use, so I'm like live exploring this now. So if I'm understanding correctly, it's a way to sort of pull in context without having to be in a nested component tree. So you can sort of compose context in different ways rather than having to be purely hierarchical?
Correct. And it's a way to read resources, context being one of them. So context is an example, but promises are also an example. Promises sent by like a suspense library is also an example.
So could it replace something like a React query for at least simple use case?
Yes, yes. Okay. I think for a simple use case like reading a context or like reading like a suspend rendered promise, yes. But React query does a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say yes, but yes.
Understood.
For very simple use cases,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, and coming into it, it sounds like you can sort of put it inline in your component, but it's going to deal with an asynchronous thing.
Exactly.
And make React's rendering work all nicely with that, rather than having to embed that into like a use effect or a callback or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah. So uses, because it's like an API itself, you can have it within your component itself. You don't need to embed it within another hook. And because it's not a hook, you can also call it conditionally. So you can have like multiple hooks at the top, and then you can have, because it's an API, it's not a hook, you can have it at the bottom somewhere in the component as well. So you don't need to have it at the very top.
Interesting. So in some way, I'm now speculating, but does it kind of, it hooks into the, see what I did there? It hooks into the rendering path.
Yes.
Right. So that your React component rendering may be suspended as it waits for this thing, or it's going to do a placeholder or something like that.
I don't know the inner workings of Use API, to be honest, so I can't say if it actually suspends the rendering path. But because it's waiting for an async promise to come back, I want to say yes, but I am not sure how it works in the background, so don't know.
What happens on your screen while you're waiting for that resource to come back?
I don't know. Good question. I mean, it's a context promise is it's a context what I've checked. I haven't really seen any loader screen or anything like that. It's been pretty instantaneous. I don't know. That's a good question.
Speaking of loader screens, I think now I'm still trying to remember exactly what was in React 19, but there was some sort of drama around something related to suspense or things around that. Where did that end up falling out?
Great question. Yes, there was concerns about suspense kind of basically breaking the way it works right now. So basically what happened is that suspense components, if you have like 4 different components in a suspend boundary, they would all kind of resolve and then in async pattern, so they would all resolve at their own time. However, with React 19, what was happening, and I think this was because of the compiler, if I'm not wrong, this was also causing suspense to kind of act as a waterfall. So if you have like 4 components, the first would finish, then the second, and the third, and the fourth. And so it was taking incredibly long. This PR has now been reverted, so it's no longer part of like React 19 anymore. So that problem has been fixed or reverted back.
So kind of a rough transition into another topic, but we've been talking a lot about AI. We've heard a lot about it at this conference. We've seen a lot of great examples, and we've been discussing with other folks about like learning and coming up to speed with AI in the world now. And I'm just curious, like since we've been talking about these brand new features of React 19 and for other frameworks as they evolve and come out with new features, do you see that their adoption being delayed because LLMs might not know about the features in React 19 for a little bit?
Short answer, no. Long answer, I think the people who are using LLMs have a different use case in mind as compared to the people who are adopting these features. So I'm guessing when you're thinking of LLMs, you're thinking of tools like Cursor AI, you're thinking of tools like Copilot.
We're just asking ChatGPT, like, hey, how do I use the use hook?
Yeah.
It's like,
so I inherently don't trust these tools to kind of give you the best optimized way of rendering your component. And I think that's true for most of these tools. They are a good starting point to, especially with Cursor, for example, it's a good starting point to like write out a skeleton code. And from there, you can optimize your code, make it look nice, make it correct. Most of the times as a developer, you have to validate your code. And you should validate your code if you're getting any of the code out of these AI tools.
Need to validate code coming out of me too.
Absolutely. And that's why we have PR reviews. I think because it's a starting point, it's not the final product or like it's not the final state of your code. I don't think the adoption will be delayed because the people who are building these components, when it comes to optimizations, they would reach out to like React Compiler or like use hooks and things like that to optimize instead of just waiting on what the AI has given them.
yeah.
At least as of now. So even if React 19 is introduced tomorrow, I do not feel that it will actually delay us.
I agree. It was a rough transition.
But good question, actually.
It's on people's minds, right? Because like that is kind of now the first place I go when I have questions, just because I don't have to add a lot of, I don't have to like think in terms of how would I Google for this. I can just throw the context that I have at it and it can kind of figure it out
Use
from there.
the information out of it.
Yeah. And
So where did
I'm
their
wrong,
React context and use?
Yeah, there we go. Well, so how are you using AI in your coding these days?
I am using it as a tool.
I mean, it's perfect for use because it's really slow. So you're going to have to wrap it, I promise.
There you go. I love these puns. I am using Cursor AI a lot. I'm a big fan, and you feel so happy about it.
This is our 4th interview today, and everybody has said that. And he uses it all the time, and I am just sitting here like, what's Cursor?
Sign up, sign up.
Yeah.
There's other tools as well, which kind of like Augment is doing the same thing. And I think why I really like it is because it's reduced my time to write code so much.
Yeah.
I think I just posted like 2 days ago, I was building a side project, and typically that kind of stuff would take me like a week to ship out. But with the help of Cursor, I was able to like get something up and running within 2 days and even keep it in like bring it to a demoable state. And that is so awesome. Just having the ability to like quickly refactor your code out, tell the chat command like, hey, I'm getting this bug. This is the bug. This is something that you would typically do with ChatGPT before. But now having this core tool to like which is right there, it has all the context. I think it's like increased my performance a lot more.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wish they would have forked NeoVim rather than VS Code.
So we aren't at Cursor Conf.
Nope.
As much as it seems like we might be, we are at React Conf. I'm kind of curious, how's your experience of the conference been? What is it like for you coming to something like this?
Yeah, it has been a really wonderful experience. I think the conference, the audience has been really receptive to the new features of React 19. I feel like when you when there's a new feature comes out, when there's a new version comes out, people have a lot of resistance to it. But I've seen a lot of excitement in the audience members about the new features. All of the talks have been amazing. So I've had a really great time. I think one of the best features or one of the best things about coming to a conference is being able to talk to people one-on-one and hanging out with your friends, but also like meeting new people, which I feel like this conference has been really great at because I've met so many amazing people. So very positive experience. It's been wonderful. And having this kind of backdrop,
I know, right?
where else can you get that?
Absolutely. So you mentioned meeting new people, and I think one of the fun things is we've met both very experienced people and some folks who are like brand new to JavaScript, and they're kind of all here. And I know one of your interests is around how you kind of help these people who are newer to Java. I won't say necessarily new to coding, but newer to JavaScript or newer to the tech industry, and help them bring along. So I'm curious how you think about kind of that community building and mentorship aspect of things.
Yeah. When we are going through a hard time, we often feel like we're kind of alone in this, and nobody else is going through the same stuff that we're going, and we're probably like an imposter. We're not well suited to be here, and everybody else is amazing. And I think one of the things that I've been doing a lot with the fireside chats that I host is bringing people from the community and talking to them about the challenges that they've been facing as well, but also sharing this kind of like vulnerable side of people who usually are put on pedestals, and showing people that there is a human side to everybody, and everybody's kind of been going through challenges themselves. When we go through our struggles, we often look at these awesome people who've has so much experience, and we think like, oh, they've always been successful. There's no way that they feel like an imposter. But then when you talk to folks, and you realize that they feel like that pretty much every day, every week, I think that's really like a humbling experience and an eye-opening moment. I felt for my mentorship experience, I've always tried to be like that empathetic coach and telling people that you're not alone. And if you're facing a problem today, most likely it's true that somebody else is facing the same problem as well. So you're not alone, no matter what you're going through.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like an imposter right now.
It's like getting behind the social media view of it, right?
Exactly.
It's like, no, they're just as dysfunctional as I am.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You don't want the Instagram like perfect
Exactly.
thing. You want to see, oh, this was actually a lot of work. Or like, I was really stuck on this typo for a week and I had no idea.
Yeah.
It was one line, or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. You were missing a semicolon.
Yeah.
Or like,
You should have asked Cursor.
After this, okay.
Maybe it did not have the most updated LLM, so.
Yeah.
But like you were talking about this, you feel like you're stuck on this one line of code for so long and you feel like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. But then when you talk to like your staff engineer and they're like, oh yeah, I couldn't finish that feature for like 2 weeks because I was stuck on that one line of code. You're like, what? You did
We are
that
so
too?
stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You'd be like, what? That happens with you too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would wager there's not a single developer out there who has not felt stupid about their code.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. We are not our code. We are much more than that.
What keeps you coming to conferences? Is it the people, the connections? What is it specifically?
I think one thing that I really like about conferences is that it kind of gives me a deadline to learn something.
Yeah.
Conference-driven development.
Conference-driven
is a thing.
development,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Exactly. Today I was giving a talk about React 19. I've given this talk before, but something different that I did in this talk was added a bit more context about React Compiler. And so that encouraged me to learn about it, understand it, and share it with the world. And I think that really helps me stay up to date with like React, with community, front end, whatever. So I really like that. It helps me still be active and still enjoy my job, my like full-time job, and not feel like I'm in a rut and just like moving boxes every day on the screen. So I'm actually doing something worthwhile. And I think like sharing something with the world and people coming back and saying like, oh, what I shared was really helpful and they learned something new, I think that is really rewarding.
On the note of staying motivated in your job, what are the technical things that are really exciting for you right now?
At my job or outside of my job?
Your call.
So one of the things that I'm working at Slack is building a component library, building a component that can be used all across Slack. So I work in the design systems team of Slack and specifically focusing on accessibility. Accessibility is something that I had not worked on before, and I have been in the industry for like a decade. And now at this point, learning about accessibility and what it takes to build an accessible component from the get-go itself is such a eye-opening moment. I feel like there's so much that goes behind building an accessible component. And I think it has really made me a much better developer because now I'm thinking about this component needs to be accessible from like a visual standpoint, from a physical standpoint. People with screen readers need to be able to use it. People with keyboards must be able to use it. There are people who are using assistive technology who must be able to use it. So I feel like I'm finally able to use like my technical skills to actually make somebody's day-to-day life better. And that really excites me.
Yeah, I love that too. And I love like the vulnerability and saying like, I've worked in the industry for 10 years and really haven't looked into this much.
Yeah.
Like, it just like goes to show like how broad this field can be, even when you're just like working on, specific front end pieces.
Yeah.
And like you really don't truly dig into something until you actually have to, because there's so many things to learn.
There's so
you have
much
to
to
focus. And like, thank you for sharing that, because I feel the same way, and I'm always like, I'm pretty well into my career and I haven't done, this and this. And
Yeah.
it's just because it has never come up in my specific scenarios.
Absolutely. And I kind of touched accessibility in my first year of development, but what I'm doing at Slack right now versus what I was doing back then, I think it's so vastly different. And the world of accessibility can be really complex as well. And until you're right, like until you actually work on something, you don't really understand it fully. And I think we just have to like cut ourselves a little bit of slack. The world of front-end development is so fast and changing, and it's so vast, like you cannot keep up with everything and you will not be an expert on everything. So I think just being okay with that also takes a lot of strength, but it's okay to not know everything.
Well, and if you're doing it at the design system layer, most of the developers that are going to use that won't even have to understand all the different nuances that have gone into making it accessible. They just pull in your component.
Exactly. And that's the goal. Like, that's my goal. I want to create a component that they can just embed and get those accessibility powers out of the bat. They don't have to worry about it. As long as they're providing the right attributes, this will be good to go.
Will it be exposed via the BlockKit UI?
It will not be. You can use it, but it won't be exposed. It's going to be an internal component.
I'm just curious, kind of shifting gears again.
Rough transition.
Hey, it's late, all right? This is like...
No problem at all. It's late for me too.
And we're showing our internal imposters of just like, wait. Okay.
I'm just curious your thoughts on like TypeScript versus JavaScript.
Oh, spicy
topic.
take.
Yeah.
Spicy take. I will be very honest. Before starting TypeScript, I was like, I don't need Java in JavaScript.
Yes.
I think the entire like type thing and like tightly typed, all of that kind of pissed me off about it, especially because JavaScript is supposed to be loosely typed. And that's what brought me to JavaScript. Now, having worked with TypeScript for around 3 years, I'm a big fan of TypeScript, especially when I'm working with people outside of my team, when it's just not me, there's other people as well. And the reason being, TypeScript gives you contract out of the bat, so you don't have to specifically provide it. And it's become a lot easier to skip errors that could have been easily occurring in your code base because of even simple things like undefined or null. So it's given that type safety to you, which is really helpful, especially when working across teams.
Yeah, 100%. The reason I used to use like the Chrome debugger, for example, was to figure out what am I actually passing here? And TypeScript kind of eliminated that for me.
Right.
I'm curious, you mentioned like the contracts that it helps you to keep and create with your team. Was that like the main thing that made it click, or was there like some specific thing that was like, oh, okay, yeah, I do get this now?
Yeah, I think the contract was a big one because building a component that needs to be used by other people, I think it's important for me to make sure that this, for example, a prop is going to be supplied. Like, let's just say ARIA label, for example. If I'm expecting this component to be accessible, I'm dependent on you as a developer to provide that attribute to me. And how can I make sure that that happens is through TypeScript types. So I can provide that as a required attribute. So that has really helped me kind of understand why TypeScript is so popular, especially when people are working across teams. So yes, I think type safety definitely one of those. The contract definitely one of those.
I like that actually as an example too around if you want to make sure that the thing you're doing is accessible, instead of having to remember as a developer and putting that burden on the developer, oh, you got to remember to set this, you got to set this, you got to set this, bake it into the type system.
Exactly.
It's there. If it's not there, it won't compile.
Exactly. Yeah, and it gives you that, you don't even have to wait for like your code to get pushed or anything. It's right there. Like you see it as you type, that you need to provide this required attribute, which I love.
Yeah.
Typed HTML.
We're going into the Java territory of JavaScript as well.
Thank you, Shruti,
for
coming. And I think, we can tell we're all a little punch drunk at this point and, ready to get onto the social parts of the conference. Is there anything you would like to leave folks with, coming out of this, things that, you'd like them to take away?
Yes, two things. I think a lot of people are very interested in coming to conferences, but also kind of see themselves speaking at a conference, but sometimes they feel overwhelmed, feeling that that might be a step for a later date. I just want to inspire people and tell them that the hurdle to getting there is a lot lower than you feel. So you might feel like you need to have like a polished topic, you might need to have like the bleeding edge technology, or you need to be like really well versed with the stuff that you're about to do. But I can tell you that if you submit a topic, you have 3 months to prepare for that topic, you will be able to come up with a talk. So I want to tell people like giving a conference talk is a lot easier than you think. So apply for your first conference talk. It's easier than you think, you can do it. I believe in you. There's a lot of conferences that happen online as well, and they're always looking for speakers. There's a lot of meetups, which is a really great place to kind of start speaking at conferences as well. So that's number one. Actually, adding one more thing to that is there's a few tips that I've given on my YouTube channel. I think that'll be a nice video for people who are interested in speaking at conferences, but have that little bit of like imposter, like, oh, I'm not ready yet. So I think that'll be a really nice video for folks. The second thing I would say is that there's a lot of debate on whether or not React is still relevant or still the language or still the framework of a library that people should learn, especially coming out of boot camps, especially with AI tools and people feeling like maybe they don't need to learn any framework or library. I would say React is still relevant. It's still the #1 technology that people are looking for when they're hiring. So definitely learn React. There's a lot of great courses out there, a lot of free content on YouTube. I also have a course on O'Reilly, but definitely learn React. It's a really great way to ensuring that you have a secure front-end career, at least for the next 5 years.
If you get good at it, you can take those concepts anywhere.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right, like if you get really good at React, right now that is the best way to get a front-end job.
Yeah.
And if in 5 years the answer is Svelte, most of those core concepts that you learned in React will translate without any difficulty.
And we talked to Tom Okino earlier today and about just how React was there, but it's kind of influenced the whole industry in terms of like the new frameworks that are coming out are still creating the same core concepts like component-based development and things like that. So it is very transferable.
This has been Shruti Kapoor.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so wonderful.